But one thing I noticed about Tuchel as a coach is he can harness players when other people buy those players. But to go to market and get his own players, he really doesn't know how to really get quality players for himself. If I can list out some of the players that Tuchel bought for Chelsea, they can't even make the bench of most of these top 4 teams in England.
Transit TV, welcome to Reggie Football Show one more time. Like we promised on this channel that we're going to have this episode today to discuss the just completed season in Europe, looking at the performances of different clubs, most especially the top clubs in Europe. We're going to find out from various fans what expectations we had before the season started, what they think about the season, how their teams performed, individual players, their coaches, and season outcomes. So joining me today are a host of very respectable fans of various clubs in Europe whom I have known a very long time. We've been talking off air about the season and their clubs. So I'll give everybody a minute to tell our viewers your name and if you have an affiliation with any club, and we'll go from there. Welcome to the show, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ken, let's go with you.
Well, my name is Kenneth Zibo. So I'm a United fan and also a fan of a good football. So, if by my, narrative, I don't believe in being a diehard fan. I believe in being a fan of a good football. So I try to be as fair as I can. It's not about who you support. It's about what brings joy to the people. So I'm a United fan and I play the game. So whatever I'm saying out of knowledge for the game. And thank you for having me, Reggie.
Yeah, Chimo.
Thank you. My name is Chima Chigonye. I am a very diehard Chelsea fan. I am not always unbiased when I discuss Chelsea because I discuss Chelsea with intention to win, but I have discussed other teams for the good game they play. But whenever I discuss Chelsea as a Chelsea fan, and I'm proud to discuss Chelsea in that way because I am Chelsea, both in the blood and in spirit. Thank you.
Yeah, Richard.
Good evening, everybody. Good evening, world. I'm an Arsenal fan of 45 years standing, as Reggie knows.
Yeah, of course. Richard, and I know way back. I think he's the first true Arsenal fan I met, growing up back home in Nigeria. Yachike.
Hi, my name is Jachike, and I'm a Real Madrid fan. Already, I just told you my name, but even before Reggie called me to introduce myself, he already told you my name. So I'll just say I'm a Real Madrid fan. And every now and then, just like every other human being, you tend to have bias towards a certain, So, like I said, but I always try to give an unbiased opinion. But pardon me if I tend to, tilt towards Real Madrid for a minute. So yeah, thank you. Thank you for having me on your show.
My regular man on the show. Is there any need to? There's no point introducing yourself, but still go ahead for new viewers.
I'll introduce myself. I'm Odunze. I'm an Arsenal fan, through and through. I also want to add that Mr. Zeibo was being modest. Yes, he just said he played the game, but it's important to give honor to whom honor is due. He's an ex-international, played for Nigeria, played the game at the highest level, scored lots of goals in Italy and Poland, and it's really an honor to have Zeibo with us. Welcome to Transit TV and the Radio Show. It's going to be a fun evening for everyone. I'm an Arsenal fan. I love what Jimo, the Chelsea fan, said. He said he's biased towards Chelsea. I like that. You know, he's unrepentantly biased towards his club, and he's going to speak from that angle. I would say I'm biased towards Arsenal. I try to be unbiased when discussing other clubs as well. But of course, that bias is there. It's in the blood. If you support a club, the tendency is to always be biased towards that club. So it's an honor to be among you guys this evening.
Then for now, the last on the list, this man is my high school mate. We spent 6 years in the seminary together, so I know him very, very well. And I don't want to say what happens between me and him off air when it comes to discussing Arsenal and Chelsea. But it was good to have you. Any word for our viewers?
Thank you for having me, Reggie. My name is Bardos. You know, like Reggie said, we played a game in high school, and you know, I was listening to everybody. They were saying, "Oh, I'm Arsenal fan. I'm not biased. I'm unbiased." But I'm a Chelsea fan. We know that Chelsea and Arsenal, we have history. So when Arsenal fan is telling you that he's unbiased, I don't think he's telling the truth about Chelsea. So when it comes to the game, I try to be objective and then try to say the weak points that Chelsea, has or whatever. But I like to also, get a good one on Arsenal because they are always on our tail. So that's the fun of the game. But I've been a Chelsea fan for a long time, and I love Chelsea regardless of what we went through this season. So thanks, Reggie, for having me.
You're welcome, guys. Like Ubum said, Ken, we are very, very honored to have you in our midst today because we know you're going to bring some dimensions that fans don't necessarily know or are aware of when it comes to what goes on around professional football. We only, like I tell most of my friends or people I talk football with, most times we only discuss this club based on 90 minutes we see on Saturdays. But believe me, so much goes in between Monday and Friday before the starting 11 is mentioned on Saturday for the games. But most times people form their opinion based on just 90 minutes that they see on Saturday or Sunday, as the case may be. So we're very, very honored to have you, and we know you're going to give us those dimensions. Before we go ahead, our viewers, we want to remind you to subscribe to this channel if you have not done so yet, and like and share this video if you are enjoying it. Well, there's no other way to start from. Unfortunately, we don't have our city guests on the show at the moment. We believe they will join us, and if they don't, any one of us can give us our opinion. I want to start with City. It's no longer news that they won the league in England, won the FA Cup, and just yesterday they also clinched the UEFA Champions League trophy, the first in their club history, the first for Guardiola as the manager of Mancity. And it wasn't a huge surprise for any. They were favorites going into that one, but we also know in the game of football, until the game is played, you cannot say 100% who is going to come out victorious. But in line with most expectations yesterday, Man City won the game. That's no longer a news. But I want to start with this question. In the beginning of the season, Man City was not performing at the standard or level we are used to seeing them perform. And that happened for a few months, which gave us now the chance to stay on top of the league for a long time. I think he almost took till December or even January before they really picked up their usual gears. What do you think probably could be seen as the reason for that?
Can I go?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, you ask. Okay. For City's initial, I think it was they were trying to size themselves up, especially with the introduction of Haaland to the team. Haaland was a new player though came with enough pedigree from his previous performances at Dortmund and his other clubs. Everybody knew he was a top talent, but City had to tweak their system to fit Haaland. So they initially it was actually in the Community Shield they played against Liverpool, and another new striker, Nunes, that was bought by Liverpool, scored, and Liverpool won the Charity Shield against City, and Haaland did not score in that game. So I remember, people talking and saying, "Hey, this guy is not going to be a good fit for City." So I think it took a while for them to really kind of integrate him into the system and kind of form a particular pattern or way that would help him bring out the best in him with the side. And I listened to Pep after the Champions League game, and he said that they found a new level of defensive stability, involving all their defenders, central defenders in their regular first team. So I think once that defense clicked, after the World Cup, once that defense got into place, they were off, and that was it. So yeah, it was a mixture of issues defensively and integrating Haaland into the team that made them have a slow start.
Ken, I saw you have anything to add to that?
Well, I kind of agree with others 100%, but I'd like to add a few things to it. We know that City, I wasn't in doubt if they will come back strong and, maybe win. No doubt about it. Never doubted that team for a minute, because what you should look at is the players and their ages. You can see that every one of them are in their prime now. If you look at them very well, that's just where you play the game. When you see Arsenal team, just with all due respect, I was rooting for Arsenal to win. Not because I don't know City is a better team, but I know Arsenal, with what they've been giving people week in, week out, they deserve that chance, that shot on the title. But the thing about City, let me say something. I remember watching Guardiola every time. Most of my studies, I did it watching Guardiola training and tactics. So my understanding about Guardiola was what he did in Barcelona and Bayern, and what he did now he's doing now in Premier League. So if you notice in Spain, Guardiola was playing tic-tac mainly with small players, smallish kind of players. They hold the ball as much as they want anyways, and you can't see the ball. I remember Ferdinand and Vidic saying something about the match they played against Barcelona. They said even if they're going to lose the ball, at least they kind of swear kick somebody. They have to kick somebody. But the problem is that they're not getting somebody to kick. They were so good with the ball, you can't even get somebody to kick. So they were so good, and he did similar thing while he was in Bayern Munich, and they played wonderfully. Don't get me wrong, because he didn't win Champions League, people tend to downgrade his success. I don't believe that. When he came to England, he tried to do the same thing, but when he figured out that English football is more of physical. Now, let me put this. I don't know if you all have taken note of this. Rodri is 6'3" or 6'4". Check the height of the players he got. And these are players that are like giants. I remember when I'm playing, if I stand in front of a defender that is taller than me, I'm troubled. So first of all, the body, the physical part of it, and then the defender, if they are good with their feet, then you're screwed. So all these top, John Stone is 6'3", 6'4". Diaz is what? All of them high. But these are solid ball playing players. As giant as they are playing excellently. So when he was able to get that in playing in Premier League, that is why he's dominating. Premier League aside, 4 leagues in how many? 5 years or so, 7 years, right?
This is the fifth one in 6 years.
In 6 years, come on. So he's already dominating that side. Okay, when it comes to Europe, Europe is a different thing. Europe comes with a different luck. Like Guardiola said, you need some luck. What happened yesterday was their time, and that luck was on their side. If you notice what Lukaku had a chance, what's his name? The Inter left back had a chance. It didn't go in because it's City's time. Just like Guardiola said, it's our time. I can even see it coming in like it's our time because they could have scored that goal. If in a normal match they could have scored that goal, but they didn't. So my point in all that, I never doubted City won't beat if they're gonna come back big time and dominate as usual. We know City. The players that are in their prime know how to handle this kind of pressure. Arsenal are young, so young that and Gary Neville said it, and people try to kill him because he's a Man United fan, so they think because he's probably rooting against Arsenal. No, he's saying based on what he's seen by experience. He's been in that situation. There's a time you'll be in a situation and you say, no matter what happens, guys, we're gonna go there and win the game because you have been in that position for so long and you know what you're gonna expect. And you got each other's back. But I can't say that for Arsenal because they were so young. And the whole pressure overwhelmed them. If you see the game they lost, where they lost the game, you can see for sure that it was pressure. It was nothing else. Okay. Because if you were City will win every game. When I spoke with Reggie one time, Reggie said to me, "You think City is going to win all their games?" I said, "Yeah, definitely." And they did. From that moment, they started winning all the games. They won all the games. So
yeah, they did. I think the only game the draw point was against Nottingham Forest, I think, and it was a draw.
It was a draw.
Yeah, Richard, I saw you raise your hands. Do you have anything to add to that?
No. Basically, just to underline what the first two speakers said, that because I think the question was basically that why did City start slowly and finish as strongly as they did? And I believe the reason that happened was like they had a new player, like Ugum, he said that they had a new player to integrate. And there's a way that Haaland plays. He's almost like he's not a typical Guardiola player in that he's not, most of the time, he's not even involved in play. But Guardiola had to, if you look at the way he played in the second half of the season, as opposed to the first half of the season, he was scoring more goals. But in the second half of the season, he was actually more involved in the play. So I think it was just a question of integrating Haaland. Also, the other two people that I think sort of came to the fore in the second half of the season were Stones and Grealish after Cancelo left, because there was an issue with Cancelo. That issue was resolved because Guardiola doesn't take kindly to people that don't take his methods on board wholeheartedly, and Cancelo had that problem. Guardiola is the type of coach that even if you're not playing, if you show him that you're committed to the cause, you're in. If you show him any sort of dissent, you're out. It's really that simple. Cancelo is a very good player, but his attitude was not acceptable to Guardiola. So he expelled him, even to the detriment of the team, because Cancelo's contribution was very critical to the way City plays. But Guardiola was just not having it. Something even similar happened in the second half of the season with Kyle Walker. Kyle Walker was dropped, and he accepted it. By the end of the season, he was back in the fold. So I think it was just a question of trying to get a system. They had to incorporate Haaland. It was, they had to do that. But like I said, when he joined, he wasn't a typical City player. And these things, they take time. By the second half of the season, he was playing like a City player. His assists were nearly as impressive as his goal scoring in the second half of the season. So basically, I'm just backing up what the first two speakers said. By the time the second half of the season came around, they were sort of a more efficient unit and were playing more like a team than they were in the first half of the season.
Okay, yeah, I agree with you guys. The only thing I have to add to that, which now takes us to the next question on City before we move on. I would like to add that, yeah, I agree with all you guys have said, but I kind of also believe that they had some off the pitch issues in the dressing room at the beginning of the season. You can imagine the captain of the club, Gundogan, couldn't agree to a new contract with the club. That tells you that something wasn't very defined in the dressing room. Bernardo Silva as well, from last season, almost left to PSG. He hasn't still signed a new contract. And though Zinchenko and Jesus are not the best or topmost players in City, but they seem to be popular in the dressing room as well. So it's possible that they are being allowed to go to Arsenal probably also highlights a few things going on there. But Guardiola being who he is, like Ken said, once he terminated Cancelo from the team, he was able to galvanize the team and get them together, pushing in one direction. Gundogan in the beginning of the season, I think, wasn't playing that much. By the second half of the season, you can also see that he became integral to what City was doing. So I believe all these things put together kind of because even with the solid defensive shape that City Guardiola took in the team, they were still conceding goals. But by the second half of the season, the team became a little bit more united, and their quality showed. That's what I will add to that. But now that they have won what all they need to win, the question hanging over this City squad has always been Champions League trophy. Now they have it. And like I said a few moments ago, there are some questions hanging over some City players, some very important City players, whether they're going to stay in the club or they're going to move on. Guardiola, we know, hasn't spent this long with any club before now. And personally, I believe it was because of the Champions League that he stayed back and tried to achieve that. So what do we think is going to happen to City going forward? What next for City with regards to players renewing their contracts, Guardiola staying in City, and how they're going to manage to remain relevant, competitive at the highest level? Because most times when clubs or individuals achieve stuff like this, it's even more difficult to stay at that level. What do you think is going to be the next move for City, the players, Guardiola, and the club as a whole? And how would they achieve, sustaining this level they have achieved this season?
I mean, there's no doubt that the players are going to stay, and there's no doubt that Guardiola, Pep will stay there. I think he has a special relationship with the owner of the club. I think so. So looking at it, most of the players, I think they will stay, because the best thing is you want to be in a team that you want to win, and for you to win, you have to be in a club like City, right? So I don't think they have any. Gundogan, I think he will sign. City, they have the resources and they have the money. It's not about money. So players move because maybe they want more money, or maybe they don't have a good relationship with the manager, right? So, but Gundogan is a very big player for Manchester City, just like KDB. So I don't think Gundogan is leaving. If there is anybody that's going to leave, it will be Mahrez, because he's, right now he's not seeing many minutes in the game. But as far as Silva and Gundogan, they will stay. There's no question about that. Right now, the problem will be next season. The standard will be as high as anything, because you're not going to win the Champions League and exit the Champions League in the group stages. So the best thing for them is to stay together, and then with Haaland and especially this guy Rodri, one of the best players this season, and Akanji. Akanji is one of my favorite players. Why? Because he can play in any position. He plays in multiple positions. He can play right back, center back, left back. So these are the people you want to keep in the team. And I think if you see the way they were celebrating, that unit is still there. I don't think there's any friction as far as the players moving and going. The only problem would be how do you integrate other younger players from the B team to the main team? That would be a problem for Pep because they have some good players from the feeder team that can also play in the first team. But for him to be able to do that will be maybe give them some time in games like FA Cup and some other thing. But I think majority of the players will stay there because they have a good team.
Yeah, Ugum, do you have anything to add to that?
Yes, it's very interesting. It is a very interesting question because I tend to differ a little bit with my brother that just spoke. I think this is where the test will come. What happens next? As far as Guardiola is concerned, I think I have a feeling that Guardiola will stay. And I think that the main thing being who he is, Guardiola is so intense and being the genius that he is, he tends to look for the next big challenge. People that are like that are ultra, competitive. And I hear that the man is so intense that he puts his whole life into the coaching, doesn't take a break, just walks and walks and walks and walks like a lunatic, and at a point, those kind of people burn out. But I think he's found a good balance at City as opposed to how he used to look back in his Bayern days and even his Barcelona days. Despite the success, he looked like somebody that was about to die because you could see he was pouring his whole life into it. In City, I think I see him looking a bit more relaxed and looking healthier when you see him on the flank and the way he handles things. So I think that Pep is likely going to stay. Reason being that he would like to create a legacy. He's already, when I saw him talking about his 5 league titles, his Carabao Cups, numerous Carabao Cups, FA Cups, he was speaking about those things with pride. And I think he would like to do that same kind of thing at the Champions League level. And at CD, he has everything he needs. I don't think there's any special relationship. I think that the main relationship there is that money is there. He's being paid. He's being given a blank check, pretty much, right? The money is there. Any other club will not give him more than City is giving him as far as money is concerned. Now, the trick now is in the history of certain clubs. There are certain clubs in Europe that have such a history that remains attractive. Certain clubs that have traditions that create a certain atmosphere, right? City, for everything that they've won in the past how many years, still don't have that special traditional atmosphere, right? That the likes of Liverpool will have. I would say Liverpool, I would name United. I would say to a lesser extent, Arsenal. That's one of the things that Mikel Arteta is trying to recreate. That over the last few years, Arsenal has started losing. So there are clubs that have traditions. And I'm looking at City. How many players of City that have helped win games, win trophies, how many of them have stayed after winning and winning and winning? How many of them have stayed in City till retirement? Do we know any player, perhaps apart from Vincent Kompany, that was successful in City that stayed till they retired?
Yeah, maybe Fernandinho.
Has Fernandinho retired?
But he went back to Brazil, so he can obviously call that retirement as well.
No, I won't call that retirement. I won't call it retirement. And the reason I'm saying this, these are some of the things that create that tradition that I'm talking about. I don't know if Ken can key into what I'm saying. There are players, there are clubs that keep a player till retirement, and they do it over and over and over. And you know that there's something in there that is strong, really strong. I doubt that is in City yet. I think they are trying to maybe create to that level. And bottom line is, I think that I have Gundogan. If Gundogan signs for City, then my whole point is off, right? I will believe that they are getting there. If he doesn't sign, then I will believe that that thing that is missing is there, and it will continue to affect their players, especially as they get more success. Let somebody else speak.
Yeah, Chima, let me go to you. Let's assume we wake up tomorrow morning and Pep Guardiola resigns as the coach of Man City. Are we still going to have a team, a club that is going to be at that level, competing and pushing Man United, Chelsea, the Arsenals, the Liverpools away from, winning the title in England? Because this is a possibility, and we don't know. We're only talking based on what we see on television and read on the papers, but we don't know what's going on in Pep's mind. It's possible because I hear he said one time that he love to coach Brazil because they are blessed with enormous talent. So what if in his mind he's done his job in City and he decides to move on? So what do you think will become of City, and what do they have, right now that you think that can make them, remain at that highest level of competition? You're on mute.
Thank you for this question. I think this is a very, very important question. If you look at big clubs who at various times have lost their bigger than life coaches, I can mention clubs like Man U, to a certain extent, Arsenal with Arsene Wenger, Man U with Alex Ferguson, even Chelsea with Mourinho. When such big clubs whose managers and coaches are to a reasonable extent larger than life, when they lose such personalities, the team always fall down. You just see the team crumble because that central figure, that person who commands the respect of other players and individuals, are no longer there. If Pep, but this is my own opinion, if Pep Guardiola leaves City today, City will start struggling the way Chelsea, Arsenal, and to a reasonable extent, Man U struggled after Ferguson left. And I want to quickly, I want to digress a little to disagree with Ogum on the reason he listed, or reasons why Pep might want to stay. Have you ever considered that Pep might say, you know what, let me go to France and win Champions League with PSG. Let me create this larger than life record. If you notice Mourinho always brag about his ability to move from Porto, to some extent almost won it with Chelsea. He went to Inter and he won it in Inter. He almost won it in Real Madrid. So when you look at such records, the way I see Pep Guardiola, the way I see PSG, they have that financial firepower like City to lure. If eventually Pep feels like, you know what, let me try new challenges, or let me explore other avenues, he can actually go to PSG and create wonders like he did in City. So in order to round up, I don't want to, I want to give other people room to, say something to this. Just to answer your question, I feel like if Guardiola leaves City today, City will resort to events that happened to Chelsea, events that happened to Arsenal at when Wenger left, and events that happened to Man U when Sir Alex Ferguson left. That's my submission.
Yeah, thanks. Jessica, do you have anything to add to that? You're on mute.
Oh yes, I agree with what Chima just said right now. And I know that Pep Guardiola has once said he hopes to manage a national team. And I feel like since everybody used to say, oh, you can't win the Champions League without Messi, you can't win the Champions League without Messi, I feel like now that he has done it, this will probably be the best time for him to actually go try a national team. And if he leaves City, most definitely they are going to struggle because their current philosophy, their current football philosophy is like Pep Guardiola is the backbone. So unless they can get in a coach like a coach that shares similar ideologies as Pep Guardiola, they are going to struggle. I mean, when I say coaches that share similar ideologies, I mean coaches like Mikel Arteta. Though so many people won't agree, but Mikel Arteta or Luis Enrique. If they bring in such coaches, they would be able to still stay at the top levels. And I feel like Man City are now going down, even if Pep stays, and with the players going back and forth. If you notice, Pep Guardiola doesn't really have a problem with replacing players. He doesn't really have a problem with replacing players. He has a player, you're very good. Or take, for instance, Leroy Sané. Leroy Sané was EPL's player of the year. He was Manchester City's best player. And the next season, he threw him away. Guardiola easily threw him away. And it was just like he never left. It was just like he never left. But he was so integral to the way they played. But because of whatever reasons, he left. And Man City, look at where they are right now. So I feel like they're not going to struggle if they could get the right coach. But if they have a new coach that has a different philosophy, they're going to struggle. That's my 2 cents.
I think we'll move for Arsenal. But to round up with that, what I would say is one thing I have found out in modern football is most of the successful coaches or clubs that you have now, they always have a football director that is even more detailed and almost more technical than the coaches that they have. And Guardiola, in so many of his interviews, has mentioned I've forgotten that dude's name now, the football of Manchester City. And we've seen this happen in different clubs. I remember very well, people give Arsene Wenger a lot of credit, which he also, I believe he deserves. But if you are a true Arsenal fan, you will never forget the contribution of David Dean to the success that Arsene Wenger had in Arsenal. And once that man was lost in the board, Wenger started to struggle. So and you can see that most of the time, the football director in Man City right now work with Guardiola in Barcelona. I've seen it in Roma, I've seen it in AC Milan and other clubs in Europe. Most times when these managers move, they tend to move with these directors, or if the director moves, they tend to drag these coaches along. So for me, the most important ingredient to City remaining at that level will be having this combination together intact in the team. If either of them should lose to leave the club, they're going to feel the impact very immensely. So we'll move to Arsenal. Richard, I'll go to you. I want to ask you a question. At the beginning of last season, pundits, writers, fans all over the world, nobody gave Arsenal the chance to make top 4 in England. The talk less of putting in a very fierce title challenge. At the beginning of the season, last season, what was your expectation or prediction for the club? What did you think Arsenal was going to do going into the season? Bearing in mind the signings that were made, what Arsenal has done in the last few seasons, it tends to be a stigma hanging around the club and the team. So everybody, the best Arsenal got was from anybody before the season started was going to make a top 6. So as a true, I'm not going to use the word diehard. Yeah, your own is beyond diehard. As a life long Arsenal fan, you've seen it over the years, the glory days and the difficult years and stuff like that. What was your candid expectation? What were you thinking was going to be how the season was going to, pan out for Arsenal?
A successful season. Well, thank you, Reggie. A successful season. This season would have been, at the beginning of the season, would have been top 4 and maybe a domestic trophy or the Europa League. That would have been like a wonderful season. Strangely, though, because of the way the season started or the way the season went on, I'm actually slightly disappointed. Because you see, historically, do you know that since the Premier League started, no team has been at the top of the league for as many days as Arsenal were and not won the league. And there are things like, those 3 draws, they killed us. It's just those 3 results: Liverpool, West Ham, and Southampton. If we had won those matches rather than drawn them, we would have been 1 point ahead of City.
Yeah, I get that. So, I know you and I. So, what was your expectation? What was your prediction about Arsenal? I know you as another Chelsea fan, probably you don't wish Arsenal well, but looking at, I know you watched the preseason game Arsenal played against Chelsea at Orlando, and I think the Arsenal did not lose any game during the preseason before the season started last year. Watching those games, removing aside, the bias of Chelsea loyalty, what did you see? Did you have any slightest, feeling that Arsenal might be a force to be reckoned with going into the season?
To be honest, before the season started, I told you I never gave Arsenal any chance of making top 4. And I know, I called some of my Arsenal friends so we can bet, and I was willing to bet them. Like I said, if Arsenal cannot make top 4, why? Because I think that they were inexperienced, and I think Mikel Arteta somehow is inexperienced, because if you check the last 2 seasons, he finished either 8th twice, and so I never really gave Arsenal a chance until I saw them play, play Chelsea here. That was a different story. So, but the thing is, I think, like the last speaker said, had Arsenal won those 3 games, Liverpool, they were up 2-0 against Liverpool, and they were up 2-0 against West Ham. Had they won those 2 games, they would be title holders today. But because of I think it was so much pressure on the boys, and too much nervousness on them. At some point, they lost focus, because if you look at the teams that won the title, I have always said, I told you several times, that for you to win the title, you see, the last 4 games are very, very important. Don't worry about what is happening within the season and all that, but the last 4 or 5 games is very important, because those are like 15 points, and no team has won the league with more than 10 or 15 points for a long time. So I think I didn't give them a chance, but I think I like what Arteta did. He was able to give the boys confidence. I like what he did. He was able to move Ben White as a right back. You remember, Ben White was never bought as a right back, but for him to really do that, it reminds me of Pep that we were talking about a few minutes ago. Pep is able to look at players and put them where they're supposed to play. So for Ben White to move from a center back to a right back, and did it perfectly well, that was a very good thing that I've seen that Arteta did, and he was able to remove all those people that were giving him headache, some other player, but I never gave them a chance. But I thought my perception for Arsenal before the season started was maybe they'll finish below fourth place. But you know, it was surprising to see them gunning for the title. Had they won those 2 games, they would have been champions today. But
Yeah.
kudos to you guys.
Yeah, thank you for that. Ugo, let me go to you before I come to Ken on this one. So, what do you think propelled Arsenal? What do you think that made Arsenal become a title challenger going as the season progressed, as against all expectations and predictions by pundits, fans, and football people all around the world?
2 things come to mind readily. First one is good preseason, adequate preparation. You can, if you see that Arsenal made most of their signings early, and Arteta took time and took the team out where they really prepared for the season. You can not understate or underestimate the value of a good preseason. You've seen players struggle over and over because of that. Players coming into a new league, not being accustomed to the pace of the Premier League and the intensity. They come in before they find their feet. It's already 6 months, and so they prepared well in preseason. Second thing was the pain of the disappointment of missing out last season and the way it happened. The way Tottenham usurped the team, beat the team 3-0 away against Tottenham, and they lost to Newcastle 2-0. You could see the pain that came from that. The disappointment was so bad, and Arteta was on the brink with so many fans calling for him to be fired and sacked and all that. And so I think they channeled the pain from that, and they prepared really well, and that pushed the team forward.
Ken, do you have anything to add to that? What do you think was the propeller for Arsenal, to have performed so well against all odds and expectations?
I would say that I'll kind of go with Odin's there. Just add to the hunger. Last 2 years there was not much of a hunger in them. But if you see the way they played this season, preseason is a key part of it, because if you prepare very well and mostly injury-free preseason, when everybody stays fit, because you can prepare as much as you can prepare, but when you get injured, the whole preseason is wiped off, and then you got to be picked up again to get back in shape, which it didn't happen to Arsenal. So good preseason is a key part, but I gotta say the hunger in them was like massive. I saw that, and I keep saying it. And again, the system Arteta was starting to play, the high press. The guys are hungry and they are fit to run. They're young. So these are the kids that will run from now. It's just like kids when you see them hyper. They keep running and running and running nonstop. But the problem is that Arsenal players are running, but at the same time, they know what they're doing. Kids can run, but they don't know what they're doing, so they run for a waste. But they are running and closing the space accordingly. They weren't running everywhere. They were running together. So how do you do that? Well, if you're young and you have the hunger and you press high and you're able to do something. So as I was playing some game so well, if you notice Arsenal game, in most of the time they dominated the game. They dominated the game because they press so high and they recover the ball so high. So the moment that tiredness started coming in, the whole thing started changing. Just like I said, I was rooting for Arsenal to win, honestly, just because of what I saw the whole season. I told you that I wrote on our group that I'm just hoping that Arsenal win. But knowing that I've been in that kind of experience before, I know that City is going to catch up, and which they did. So I wasn't disappointed, but at the same time I was sad that Arsenal missed out. But at the end of the day, second best is still a great achievement for a young team like Arsenal. My concern now is, where do we go from here?
Exactly, and that brings us to the next question. But before I go to that question, I want to add a few things to what we discussed about Arsenal. Being an Arsenal fan myself, for me, I think what you guys have said that prepared us now, I agree with it 100%. But one thing I have to add to it is the season before, listening to a lot of football commentators and pundits, and even some Arsenal fans, there was an accusation on Arteta that the team was being overcoached. He wasn't giving the players the freedom to express themselves. They were uptight. And I think what happened was at that time, he was drilling into the players the philosophy, the way he wanted them to play. Just like Ken said, so the season that just passed, as the season progressed, those players already, Arsenal started to play as if it was a PlayStation, because everybody understood where to be and knew where to expect their teammates to be at any given situation around the pitch. So I think like Odunze said, during the offseason, the preseason, there was serious drilling and there was cohesion and understanding. And that also takes us to what also became a problem to Arsenal, being that it looked like, looking at the squad, Teta identified 13 or 15 players who were close to or who understood what he needed them to do on the pitch. And he relied on those players as the season progressed. So probably the other players who couldn't really meet up with regards to the philosophy and expectation, he couldn't really trust them to use them. And that also worked against the team as the season progressed. There was also one thing I want to add with regards to the fallout. There was so much noise as the season progressed, and I was going to win the league. And I remember very well, each time Arsenal finishes playing a game, getting 3 points, if you interview the players, if you interview Arteta, they always said they are not entitled challenge. They are going for the next 3 points. And I kept watching and listening to those interviews. At some point, the media, the pundits dragged Arteta and the players into accepting that they are entitled challenge. And once that happened, what Arteta started accepting the fact that Arsenal was in a title challenge. What Ken said with regards to being young and inexperienced, I think at that point, the weight of that acceptance and that pressure of going for the title challenge became too heavy on the players. Because at that point, not winning the league became a disappointment. Before that time, they were just playing to make tough one and having fun. Once they accepted the fact that they are entitled challenge, they changed the whole dynamics. And I think at that point, I think that was before Liverpool game or after Liverpool game, somewhere around that time. And once the language of the players and the coach changed, I saw a different performance from the team. Players like Saka almost did not recover once their form dipped. Players like Partey never recovered once their form dipped. Martinelli, because of his energy, kept up the pace. Well, along the line, he got injured. Yes, I'm not trying to overlook the injury to Saliba and Tomiyasu, but I believe that emotionally, once the press managed to get the team start thinking that they are going to win the league, the pressure affected the players, and I think that's one of the major reasons why the team crumbled. So, Richard, the next question is, now that Arsenal, a lot of people out there are saying that Arsenal are going to have a very disastrous season next season because they find themselves where some people believe they didn't deserve to be there or they didn't expect themselves to be there. So, what next for Arsenal? What do you think Arsenal needs to do to remain? Because now you have achieved this season, coming second next to City. If there's to be a dip in City's form, or like we discussed earlier on, let's assume important personalities leave the club, they're not the same City that we are used to seeing. What do Arsenal do, being the only club that pushed City all the way this season in the EPL? What do they need to do to sustain that level of competitiveness and probably win the league?
Well, obviously, we need to strengthen the squad because even this year, as close as we got, I mean, it's obvious the squad wasn't deep enough. That was another reason why City actually won the title. I mean, our squad is not strong enough. And so, I mean, we don't have enough players of Premier League title winning quality. We have a good maybe 12 or 13, but we don't have the 18 or 19 that City have. Do you realize that City, even if Haaland doesn't play, they have Alvarez, for example. And that's what we need to do. We really need to strengthen. There are other areas where we can strengthen from within the team. Maybe I'm jumping the gun here, but a very big disappointment for me was the way Smith Rowe hasn't kicked on. I mean, this is a player that 2 years ago he was playing for England, and he was looked on as a really hot prospect. This year, I know he was injured, but I mean, other players have been injured and come back, so that was a bit of a disappointment. So there are ways we can strengthen within, from what we already have, but it is very important that we strengthen. And the areas we need to strengthen, I mean, is this what you're asking? Basically, it's part of what you're asking. I think that we need to. We're okay in the goalkeeping department. I like our reserve goalkeeper. And for me, a lot of people don't agree with me. Ramsdale was actually our best player for me. He kept us in a lot of games. Even that, do you remember that Bournemouth game? The game where we came back in the 97th minute. We could have been dead and buried way before that 97th minute if it wasn't for a couple of saves that Ramsdale made.
Yeah.
So, but also we need to strengthen in midfield. It's so. I mean, we need to strengthen in midfield. Also, we need an attacker that will give us 20 goals a season. Because look at City again. Compare City to us. There's the 36 that Haaland got in the Premier League, but even Alvarez, I think he got
15.
He's 17 goals for the whole season. I can't remember how many of those were in the Premier League, but he really stepped up. And also bear in mind it's his first season as well, so we need a 20 goal. I'm not sure that Jesus can supply those goals on a regular basis because he didn't do it for City, which is one of the reasons why they let him go anyway. So yeah, we need to strengthen because that was the reason why we couldn't sustain our challenge. Also, I'd like to go back to what you were saying about Arsenal losing their focus once they believed they were in a title fight. I actually think that Guardiola sucked us into that. Do you remember after that Spurs match when he now said that if Manchester City don't step up, Arsenal will kill us? He said it. And I mean, it was almost like, he was in his mind, but I don't know if he really believed it, but in his mind, he was giving the impression that we were the best team in the league, and that if City didn't improve, I mean, the title was over as far as he was concerned. So outsiders now, if Guardiola is looking at us as their main competition, surely we are in a title. We're in title contention, and that's where it started. That's where the shift from getting the next 3 points into actually, giving serious consideration to the possibility of us winning the title. So I think we were suckered. You know how Guardiola is a very experienced coach. He's remember Ferguson's mind games. He doesn't do it as obviously as Mourinho and Ferguson, but he does it. Yeah. And he did it spectacularly well, in that,
Yeah, so before we move to Man United, Ken, I'm expecting you to get ready to give us more on Manchester United. Jachike, do you have anything to add to the conversation on Arsenal?
Oh yes, yes I do. Yes I do. Actually, I have a few stuff I wanted to say. So while I agree with him, while I agree that Arsenal needs to strengthen their squad, right? I also feel like the winning and the culture, the mentality that Odunze spoke about earlier on was actually what happened to Arsenal. When it got to the integral games, those last 3 games that they drew, when it got to those 3 games, I feel like Arsenal actually stopped playing. They just stopped playing. Yeah, so there's a certain mentality you need to have to stay up there. So if your coach, Mikel Arteta, he needs to build in this type of things to these players. Like last season, Real Madrid won the double. Real Madrid were not a better team than Arsenal this season. As at last season, Real Madrid's team last season were not a better team than Arsenal's team this season. Real Madrid didn't even have the squad depth. So it was the same players playing this every game. And Real Madrid were making the same substitutions every game. The same circle, the same set of people every game. And still they achieved. So I think it's more like a mentality. It's something like it's something you need to grow, some sort of emotional intelligence or something, if you can target that. So while they need to strengthen their squad, they also need to build up that culture and that mentality. Make your stadium your fortress. Make your stadium your fortress. If you watch that throughout that last season, all Real Madrid's victories in the Champions League came at the Bernabeu. And even Manchester City, they capitulated at the Bernabeu because Real Madrid played the game till the end. Till the end. So I feel like Arsenal should, their coach should try to get to, to create a culture, to create a certain culture amongst the Arsenal players. And while he's also strengthening his squad. That's my 2 cents on that.
I think I agree with you on that. So, Kev, let's move to Man United. At the beginning of last season, you got Eric Ten Hag. He took over from Ragnick, the interim coach. Made about 4 or 5 signings. Brought in Martinez, brought in Casemiro, brought in Vegas, brought in Malaysia, and I can't think about the last person now. I think he brought about 5 signings at the beginning of the season.
He brought in Anthony.
And then Anthony, the 100 million euros player from Ajax. So, and there were high hopes. Of course, he dealt very effectively with the Ronaldo shenanigans, and the team started. What have you made of his performance vis-a-vis the style of play and the achievement or progress the team has made, since he joined?
Well, I should say, he's done pretty well, no doubt about it. The philosophy is too obvious now for you to see. The problem with Man United since Ferguson left was the identity, which is not consistent. Most of the time, Mourinho, Van Gaal came and we tried to do his own thing, but it wasn't working. I don't know why. Actually, I was a good, very good fan of Van Gaal, so I was hoping that he'd do well, but actually it didn't work out well. And Mourinho came, which I thought Mourinho would have been a perfect fit because he said this is the job that I always wanted, and I was hoping that he'd do well. But we all know what happened between him and Pogba. He was the one that brought Pogba to the club, and Pogba was the one that got him sacked. That 100%. But if you notice what's been going on, and then Ragnick came, and I honestly believe Ragnick and Ten Hag is similar style. Pressing high, try to recover the ball on the final third, and and do what you got to do, or, direct play. But then Ragnar has Ronaldo in the team then. So you can't play high press with Ronaldo. And you remember we talked about when nobody knew who that guy was when he came to this. I said he is a super coach. I watched him at Red Bull, saw his game, the players, just like Arsenal. If you give that guy Arsenal, believe me, he will be a force to reckon with. He like the young players that will press so high, they run you out of your own field. So the thing I saw with Ten Hag is his football is so easy to identify. His identity is obvious for you to see. His team are playing so compact. And I noticed something about his team, that the way they play, the way they move, the back four, the way they move, when the ball is on the right, when the ball is on the right, with the way the left back move inside the field is different from the rest of the team. They will, let's assume now, what's his name? Diallo had the ball all the way on the upper field, and Varane is close by as number 2, and you see Martinez almost at the position of Varane, and you see Luke Shaw or what's the other Netherlands guy all the way inside. I remember what this guy said, Roy Ferdinand. He said, because of this positioning, it's hard for you to get them on a counter. They close the field so good that they don't lose the ball. Even if they lose it, they kill it before it becomes a damage. But then everything went haywire against Liverpool. They were losing it. They weren't close enough. And if you notice what he said they just suddenly stopped doing what they know how to do. If you play the match against Liverpool 20 times or you continue to play, the match could have ended 100-0, because as long as Liverpool keep going they're going to keep scoring. So it's about having to do what the coach wants you to do and do it well. And Man United is now they are doing the right thing based on the coach's philosophy. They're playing well, they're attacking together, defending together, and thank God for Casemiro. The positioning, that guy, I've always been a fan of Casemiro. I've said this in about 100 times. I say, when Casemiro was playing for Real Madrid, I say, if this guy doesn't play, Modric and Toni Kroos can never have the best game they want to have. He was giving them so much coverage, and they were having the fun of their life. He's not fast, but he knows how to cover and how to step in. Just like Busquets. Busquets is not fast, but Busquets is one step ahead of you because you know the positioning. So I think for now, I don't even have any. They had the best season so far. It's not about if Mourinho, of course, won the Europa League and came second or third as well and qualified for Champions League as well, right? But you can see that Mourinho's team wasn't as consistent as this 10th team. 10th team will give you like a guarantee of winning that game. Mourinho's team is that they're going to scrape up the victory one way or the other. So what I see for him is that back him up, with what you can, give him. He doesn't go for players that are so expensive, except, but he wants the player that got the same mentality, the right attitude that he wants. Those fighters, like Martinez, those fighters, like Casemiro, those fighters. Luke Shaw is a super player. Those are what he is looking for. So back him up all you can and let him go for the players that he wants. And I believe he can take this. Believe me, he can take the championship from City, man. They can dominate for the next 3 years. And let me add something to what some of us are saying here. Gundogan is not going to sign a contract. Gundogan is gone. Because at the end of the day, Gundogan wasn't even trying to. It's not about the money anymore. It's about trying to try something else. Just like Lewandowski. Can you imagine Lewandowski leaving? He got everything, right? He left.
Yeah.
when you win so much, sometimes you get tired. You just want something new, something, And I heard Barcelona has already lined up a contract for him and he's willing to sign it. He would want to go live in Spain, enjoy his life, free sunlight, no rainy season like Man United or Manchester City, City all the time, and enjoy with his family and play different football that matches what he want to play. But will City be weakened because of Gundogan? No way. They already started talking to this Chelsea guy. Kovacic. Yeah, and he's a perfect fit. And watch Kovacic become one of the best midfielder you ever see. Pep will always get the best out of them. So I'm so impressed with what Ten Hag did with Man United, and I hope they supply him with all the ammunition that he needs so that he will continue doing the right thing.
Bados, and being a Chelsea fan and watching Man United in the last season and looking at the impact the coach has had on the team, what are you worried about of Manchester United, or what do you expect them to be like this season coming in the next few months?
I think they have a very good coach. I like the guy. I seen what he did when he was at Ajax, but I still think that they need a striker. They don't have a number 9, just like Chelsea doesn't have a number 9, and you cannot win the Premier League without a typical number 9 that will give you 20 to 30 goals a season. So I think the first thing they will do is to get a number 9, because Rashford is not a number 9. He's better off coming from the wings, and Anthony as well. So they need, for them to make an improvement, they have a number 9. And the next thing I think they will do is to sort out the Maguire issue. So is he staying? Does the coach want him to play or not? But I don't think so, because Maguire, I think they identify him as one of the weakest point in the defense. So they have Varane and Martinez. So they still need another center back. And then pretty much, I think they have a very good midfield, but their main issue will be to get a number 9. When they get a proper number 9, which is not actually in the market, I don't see many number 9s right there. So, the guy they got from Burnley, the Dutch guy, is Weghorst or something. He's not he's not a real number 9. He doesn't fit the style of play of Manchester United. So that's the first thing I think they will do off-season, to get a number 9 and then get a backup for Luke Shaw. The Malaysia, he's a good player, but he's still young. But if you're going to play in the Champions League, you still need a backup. I don't think what's his name? Luke Shaw. Yeah, Luke Shaw won't be playing week in, week out, because they're going to play many competitions. They're going to play Premier League, Champions League, FA Cup, and he's prone to injury. So they need a left back as well. With that, I think if they have a good number 9 that links up with Hernandez and the Casemiro, they will push for it.
Okay, guys, before we move on, Richard is about to leave us. It's 1:30 a.m. in Nigeria. Richard, we are so glad to have you, and we hope to have you more, and probably fix the podcast or the episode at a more friendly time for you to go the whole haul with us. Thank you very much for joining us in this one. And
thank you, Richard. We appreciate you, man.
You're on mute.
Thank you, Richard. You're mute. You're mute. Richard, you're mute. We can't hear you.
Sorry, I was trying to type a message to everybody. I didn't know I was on mute. Thank you all so much. I hope we can do this again. It's been a pleasure meeting you all. So
thank you.
Good night from Nigeria. All right,
thank
now.
You.
Yeah,
thank you.
Yeah, so for me, United, as the season was progressing last season, I want you to tell all this until Man United mathematically cannot overturn Arsenal, I will not accept that Arsenal will Even when he was talking about winning the league or top four, I kept telling him I can never rule United out until it gets to a point where even if they win all their games, they can't go above Arsenal. So they always have that. The one thing I know that ETH has brought to United is to bring back that United spirit, that never said that spirit, that performance spirit. United over the years has never really been a very sweet in the eye kind of play, but they play good football, not as exotic as maybe Pep Guardiola or what Arsenal does, but they always find a way to get the results, which they lacked under the latter days of Mourinho, Van Gaal, and it became worse maybe a year before Ole left the club. So one thing he has done is to bring that back to the club, and that should be, something to be feared about by rivalry clubs. Then in terms of quality, like Badon said, they need some very good signings. The only thing that is worrying me about ETH is that he seems to focus only in the Dutch market. I don't know if that will work. I know every coach has a profile of a player that he likes to have in his team. Having worked in the Dutch league, probably that's a market that he knows. But I think United should start to look elsewhere to harmonize the qualities in the team from different leagues, because that's what gives you that robustness to compete at the highest level. So we'll move to Chelsea. Yeah, this is always going to be a very robust and wide discussion, because Chelsea became or has become the ridicule of modern day football based on how their season panned out. Though to many who are deep in the modern football, it wasn't very unexpected, considering what happened before Abramovich left, considering how he managed the team when he was the owner, and the kind of culture he was running while he was still in charge of Chelsea. Everybody that knows Chelsea will know and expect that it's going to be difficult for Chelsea to function at the same level that they used to function under Abramovich after he left. More so, they got an owner who is an American who probably is not very deep in football. So, Bados and Chima, I'll go to you first of all, Chima. How did Chelsea arrive to this point that many were even considering relegation?
Thank you so very much. In fact, I am so happy to start this question. I believe that Chelsea's problem, we have this Chelsea forum here, that when people, in as much as I love Chelsea, I always give objective criticism when I'm with Chelsea fans, not when I'm with non-Chelsea fans. In as much as I believe Thomas Tuchel gave us Champions League. But one thing I noticed about Tuchel as a coach is he can harness players when other people buy those players. But to go to market and get his own players, he really doesn't know how to really get quality players for himself. If I can list out some of the players that Tuchel bought for Chelsea, they can't even make the bench of most of these top four teams in England. You just wonder, players like Cockrell, players like where is this one we bought from this defender we bought from
Leicester,
Fofana. Players I can even go on. Even you look at Chelsea, I've always told people, Kai is not a serious player in my eyes. I told people, you see, today Germany will never win anything again until Kai stop playing stop being in German national team. because he is not only that he's a lazy player, you know, whenever that laziness gets into him, he starts fouling people. He's, you know, you will see this negative attitude, you know, negative play on his part. I believe Chelsea's problem is procurement of players. Chelsea bought players that were not at top level or that are not Chelsea fit players. You know, Chelsea lacks, you know, I used to tell people that I would have preferred Lukaku. If Lukaku were to be in Chelsea till today, there is no way Chelsea will not be in the first six in the league. In as much as the problem, people say he is not a good player and all those things, he is a striker. There is a mindset of a striker that he has. If you look at Chelsea today, you know, we don't really have a player who has that mindset of a striker. Look at Sterling. Even sometimes I just get angry. When I get angry is City are selling two players. They are selling Jesus and Sterling. In as much as Jesus didn't want to come to Chelsea, you know, he wanted to go to Arsenal. But if I don't get Jesus, then I'm not going to buy Sterling. We had Sterling. We had Pulisic. We have Mount. We have Mount. We have 5 or 6 players who are like one player in their pattern of play. And we keep buying such players. You know?
Have Modric.
Yeah, yes. So my concern with Chelsea is, my problem started with that. Thomas Tuchel had the problem. He has his domestic. His domestic cost him not to pay much attention in Chelsea. Chelsea started falling immediately. His divorce, Tuchel's divorce started. You know, he had divided loyalty. You know, he's no longer paying attention to the team, and the team dripped to the floor. So I don't want to waste people time. I want my co-Chelsea fan, because you know, this is like from the heart. I want to see what he want to say about it.
So, but those, what went wrong with Chelsea? Then bear in mind, if you could also, you know, let us know what next after, you know, identifying what the problem was. How did they get out of the gully that they find themselves as we speak?
Well, I will differ with what my co-Chelsea fan said about Kai Havertz, right? So let me start with that one first. Not a lot of people know that Kai Havertz is not a number 9. I know he says he's a, you know, he's not he's a lazy player. He used that word. But the thing is, every player is different. Kai Havertz is more like a Papillo kind of player. They play off of a number 9. But in Chelsea, we didn't have a number 9 because they sold Lukaku. And we had the other 2 other young guys that got injured. So we didn't have a number 9, and Kai Havertz is not a number 9. You can't play him as a number 9. He's still your highest goal scorer. But the problem with Chelsea is we don't, like I told you many times, that we don't have the creative players. And Mason Mount is not a creative player. So you're looking for where the goals are going to come from. Let me start again with Thomas Tuchel. Before he came in, Chelsea was finding it difficult to score goals. So he had the issue with Lukaku, and then he sold back, he sent him on loan to Inter Milan and brought in Auba to solve that issue. But my problem is the owners didn't give him that time to fully, you know, do what he was supposed to do with the players that he brought in, like Kukureya, like Fofana. You know, he didn't give them a time, because I was listening to Thomas Tuchel. He said that his firing took only 3 minutes. You cannot you cannot have a coach that stayed with you during the difficult time, because Chelsea was going through a lot with, you know, change of management, change of ownership. And when this comes, it comes with low morale. You know, players didn't know, is Chelsea going to be playing the next season? But we went through that, and you got the new owners. But the new owners didn't give Tuchel chance to actually, you know, bring all these players together and play for the next season. It was so embarrassing. And you fire Thomas Tuchel, and the only solution you have to for another coach is Graham Potter. There was no, for the owners to change Tuchel and then bring in Potter was an embarrassment. So the problem with Chelsea is as deep as anything. First, we need a number 9. We don't have a typical number 9. And when you don't have a typical, like I always say, you have to have a number 9 that can score goals. And when they start scoring goals, the other wingers will also help in scoring goals. And at the end of the season, if you don't score up to, like I was looking at Arsenal and Manchester City, they scored over 80 goals from different players. So Chelsea couldn't score goals because they couldn't create. They didn't have creativity. Mancity couldn't create. Our goals last season was coming from the wings, like Chilwell and James. Those players, they got injured. But they have to sort the issue of creativity in the midfield. And Kai Havertz is never going to be a number 9. For them to next season, I thank God with what we have now. Like I said, now we have Modric and we have Madueke. So Chelsea needs a number 9. I don't know where they're going to get it, but we need a number 9. And then we still have to sort out our centre back because Thiago Silva is 38 years today, this season. So he's not going to be playing week in, week out. This thing is very intense. Premier League is very intense. You have to be running for the, for the 90 minutes that you're going to be playing. So Chelsea will have to get another centre back, and then get a number 9. I believe.
And the keeper.
Might I ask you what type of number 9 do you think Chelsea needs?
We need a typical number 9. Like we need like a Didier Drogba type of number 9.
Or like is good now, right? Osimhen will be a good fit.
Who?
Osimhen.
Victor.
I think Osimhen will be a good fit for Chelsea.
Osimhen is a very good player, but I disagree with other players. My Nigerian friends. I tell them that he's not prolific, and he wouldn't fit in Chelsea kind of play. But he's a very good player. I think he probably go to Manchester United. But
so who are your first?
Oh God,
who are your first?
What do you think about Osimhen and fitting into Chelsea?
Yeah, well, I was going to ask him who are your first 2 choices? If they were to call you now,
I think the first thing we need to sort out, like you mentioned, Bados, is Chelsea don't create enough chances. Once they lost James to a lot of injuries during the season, and Chilwell, like you said, because anytime if Arsenal is playing against Chelsea, the player that I'm more concerned about is James. If he's on the pitch, and anytime he has the ball on, that guy is so intelligent with the ball in the final third that he can provide for anybody. But when a team relies on their right back and left back to create chances for the striker, then there's a very big problem. So I think Chelsea, depending on the kind of midfield they want to have, that will determine the kind of striker they will go for.
Let me tell you.
We talk about Jesus. Jesus doesn't score a lot of goals, which is annoying. But the way he plays has made Saka, Martinelli, and Trossard, all these guys chip in with a lot of goals. So the style of play or the midfield that Chelsea is going to play with next season, for me, will determine the kind of striker, because a lot of strikers have come to Chelsea in the past few years and they didn't deliver because Chelsea refused to solve the problem of the creative midfield. So I don't think Chelsea's problem is the personnel, but it's about how does the striker, get the opportunity to score goals.
But
actually,
let me tell you if you honestly ask me my kind of striker for Chelsea, even with what is happening in Chelsea today, the only reason Lukaku didn't fit in is people were not giving him balls. But if I get somebody like Newcastle Wilson, Newcastle Wilson from Newcastle, that's my kind of striker for Chelsea. Somebody who's a bulldozer, somebody who has energy, somebody who is intimidating. So, Wilson is like Drogba for me. Give him the ball and allow him and the defenders. I see him as better mentally or technically, not mentally, but technically than Lukaku, because he has the ability to trap the ball very well. Lukaku's problem is his first touch. Wilson has a better first touch than Lukaku. Wilson has speed. He has the ability to sometimes dribble. He can rough and tumble with defenders, and he can shoot. Like my fellow Chelsea fan, I agree with you that when Nigerians talk about Osimhen, I really don't see Osimhen. Osimhen cannot withhold the thumb and stumble, in Chelsea's team. But somebody like Wilson, Callum Wilson, if he comes to Chelsea and we're able to get a very good Fabregas-like midfielder, not Jorginho. I don't see Jorginho as a player because I feel Jorginho should go to Italy. He should go to Italian league because, me, even with my stomach and big, how lazy I am, anytime Jorginho holds the ball, I feel like I will get it from him.
That's what you feel, though.
Are we talking about Jorginho Jorginho that's buzzing fast now? Jorginho is no longer in the discussion. Let's leave him. He's playing very well. He's happy where he is. He's very happy where he is.
So Ken, based on your experience, during your playing days, I don't know if you have played for a team that found themselves close to where Chelsea are at the moment. What do you think Chelsea needs to do to get out of this gully?
Well, they're already taking care of it. They hired a very good coach, and all this thing is about the coaching part of it. The coach that will come in with a good philosophy and most of somebody that will control the situation. The whole thing going on in Chelsea is a big mess, right? Check, the changing of ownership, firing of all the important personnel that is working. Come on, you don't do that, and it's gonna.
Okay, I'm coming. I've not left the house.
It's gonna affect everybody, right? Definitely, it's gonna affect everybody. So they need a good coach, which they did. I'm happy they hired, Pochettino, and just like I said, good striker. Everybody said. I don't think Osimhen is a bad. I'm not. For me, as a brother, I would want him to go to Germany. Bayern would be a massive, improvement for him, because then there's a lot of creativity. I wouldn't want him to come now and start hustling and hustling. He's going to reduce your kind of play. Is what I'm saying. He's not coming here to prove. Coming to Chelsea, now everybody will put all the pressure on him. Coming to Man United, everybody will put all the pressure on him. He needs to score goal. Going to Bayern is almost winning the league all by themselves. So he's in a better position to grow more and more and be what he wants to be. So for Chelsea, coach is the best thing to do, and which they did already. They hired a good coach, which we all know is not going to be the same Chelsea by next season, because he's going to change everything. And I'm sure they're going to get a good striker. Ask me who, I don't know, because but then don't forget that Pochettino kind of play, he's always going to play together. His team are always moving up the field together, and they're going to create chances together. So about scoring goal, Chelsea are going to start scoring goal by all means, but the striker is what they need. Midfielder, they have it in abundance.
But Monaco, one question. So regardless if you change 10 coaches, if you have the same lazy set of players, what is the coach going to do with lazy players when there's no tactician that can help any lazy player. You know that. That's 101. So a lot of players these days, especially like you mentioned at Chelsea, they were playing lazy. They were damn straight lazy. So there's no way you can tell me having a good coach or even if they go to Pep's team, he's going to wash them out because they can't do nothing.
Okay, let me tell you about being lazy. Coach, players don't be lazy, except the situation, makes them lazy. What is going on in Chelsea is not the players' fault. We all know the if you sell a club, a new owner cannot come in and start buying every kind of player. What message are you passing around to the players that's already there? Mind you, there's something they call confidence and ego. You buying, how many players did Chelsea buy again?
They have about 45 players, including those. In fact, that takes me to the next one I was going to ask you, Ken, as you answered that one. I was going to ask you, with the number of players that Chelsea have, it's always easy for us fans to say, tell our club to go sign players. But I know that the number of players that Chelsea has at the moment, they need to move players out even more than they need to sign. Now, when you are in that position, it makes it difficult for you to sell because the buyers know that you need to sell. And it's not that Chelsea has 45 players and 25 of them are exactly what they need. So they can do away with the other 20 or the other 15. Now, they still need to sign players. Even with the 45, they still need to sign 2 or 3 more players. So they find themselves in the situation where they find themselves in a situation where they have to do both at the same time. Now, if you like, for instance, City wants to sign Kovacic. Yes. But Chelsea probably is not the one of the players that they really need to sell. But because they have to sell somebody, now they're going to fall to that pressure. And City will use that in negotiation. So how do you think Chelsea need to handle this? Do they pursue releasing players they don't need first and start to go for the ones that they need? Or should they try to bring in the players that they need, maybe the 2 or 3 players that they need, then start to sell players? But if either ways, there is a negativity in any approach you take. What do you think, based on your experience?
It goes both ways. You got to sell and you got to keep buying. Just like what Pierre said before, I'm trying to go back to that, then I'm going to answer your question. You know why Kovacic is leaving? It's not like he really want to leave. They are seeing the situation around them, and they are not seeing the positive outcome of it because of too many players. Mind you can buy players for 180, 70 millions, and you want them to sit on the bench, right? Everybody want to play. But when there's so much numbers, it becomes a headache for a coach to do his selection. Mind you, if I'm investing 60, 70 million, I want to see the person playing. What about the person that has been playing for Chelsea over the years that has been doing a good job? What is he going to do? So the issue now, they're going to move players. They move and they recruit. What they need to recruit is what they need. They don't need to recruit because they need to fill up the space because somebody left. So now, just like you say, they're going to sell on losses because every team are going to capitalize on that they need to move our players. So Kovacic now probably is a player of 40 million. They're probably going to buy him for 15 million or 20 because they know he needs to go. Gallagher is going to be next. Who is Mason? Mercy Mount is going to be next because now I heard that they're trying to sell him for 80 and Man United is saying 35, 50, something like that. So all these things are going to have a play, but they know that. They know it's going to happen. Sometimes in football, you win some, you lose some. You're going to make some money, you're going to lose it as well. And don't forget that players that they sign for so much money, they tie them up with so long contracts. So they are not scared about that part, but they need to clear the book all the same way to get rid of most of the old players. I am not worried about Chelsea because I'm glad they took Pochettino as the coach. Believe me, PS, have faith in your team. They're going to come back strong. They're going to play wonderfully. All these people that you call lazy now, they're going to turn to workaholic next season because the Pochettino that I know is going to dread it, living the life out of you. This guy came close to winning the league with Tottenham. Remember? Tottenham of nobody. He came so close to winning the league.
No. He came close. Winning. Close is not winning, sir. So when you are always close, you are a serial loser. That's what it means. Guys, I mean, let's just be realistic about it.
Okay, but remember, he was operating under a minimum.
Okay, so what happened at PSG? What happened at PSG? He was operating under maximum budget.
Okay. At PSG, he won. He won the league, didn't he?
Winning the league, Newcastle United can go to a French league and win every year.
That's what everybody did at PSG so far. So
it doesn't
won
matter.
anything else?
But Tuchel didn't win the league, yeah. I don't think Tuchel won.
That's what I'm saying. Nobody won anything at PSG.
I don't think Pochettino won the league. I think when he was there, I think another team won the league.
He won the league. He won the league. I know you don't like him because he was ex-Tottenham anyway.
No, Pierce is a Man City fan. Pierce is a Man City fan.
I'm not a Chelsea fan, but I have a lot of friends that are always complaining about how Chelsea is this, how Chelsea is that. And I'm looking at like the list of players they have. Let's just put it in perspective, right? Let's say all of us in one team, and we are damn straight not performing. This is just performance 101. There's no boss and there's no coach that you're gonna put in our midst that's gonna change our work ethic. Work ethic is not something you can teach. It's not something you can coach. It's something you have to be born with. And some of these guys, they make so much money, they become lazy. They don't care about, look at example, Raheem Sterling. Right? A finished product. Got to City, got clean. Now he's a finisher. Now he can look you in the eye and go real deep and take you down into the 18-yard box. Right? Now went back to Chelsea. This guy, he gets the ball, he passes back. He gets the ball, he passes back. Why is that?
Mentality.
Yeah, I think that goes to what Ken was saying. And,
mentality.
And what you're saying too, when now they have a coach that thrives on performance. But the team started from Southampton and brought them and stabilized them in the Premier League. Then the Spurs stole him. He went to Spurs and drove Spurs to Champions League finals and the men stay in the EPL top 4. Then he went to PSG. So I don't think his pedigree is in any way in any question. And that's where Chelsea, the only problem Chelsea is going to have is he's going to go in there and identify players that can perform the way he wanted to perform. And Chelsea have to worry about what to do with the other players that he doesn't need, and then getting him the players that he needs. I think like what Ken said, I agree with him. Chelsea is going to come back. I don't know if it's going to be this season coming up, the next one, but with Pochettino there for the next, and I hear he requested to be part of every negotiation, every player that's going to be spent. If not, then there's a breach in the contract. So Chelsea probably will come back. I think we should move a little faster now. We have Liverpool and Real Madrid to talk about. So let's go to Liverpool. Liverpool is another team that was a big mess based on the standard they have set for themselves the last 5 years. At some point, Liverpool was 29 points behind Arsenal, and I don't think anybody in football in the last 5 years would have believed that such could be.
Hold on. Did you just say 29 points behind Arsenal?
Yes, at some point. Why
do you have to mention Arsenal? So why do we have to mention Arsenal?
Well, Piers, you're late to this episode, so you don't know what we have discussed. So you need to calm down and follow with the flow. We'll come back to you because you're late. We talked about City, but you're not here. So
sorry, no problem.
The reason why I can answer your question is because, like I said, in the last 5 years, Arsenal has never been a match to Liverpool. For all of a sudden, Arsenal to be 29 points ahead of Liverpool in one season. That tells you the level of performance that Liverpool was going through or we are showing up in the season. So I want us to discuss what do we think probably was the main reason why Liverpool could not just get out of the first gear almost throughout the season until maybe 2-3 months to the end of the season.
Sit down here. Sit down. Put on a seatbelt. No, please.
Okay, can I?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so guys, keep me honest here, right? So we're looking at Liverpool midfield. To me, I felt like, first of all, when they decided to, tinker with their forward line, that's when their downfall started. When they refused to balance the books properly, because that was just the basics. You balance the books, pay Salah this year, tell Mane, you will pay him next year. You keep to that promise. Next year, you pay him. Then the next year after, by that time, Firmino is coming up. You pay Firmino. So what they decided to do is bring in some young guys from the academy, which is fine. Now they decided to go get unfinished products from different leagues, which is how, exactly what you can do and not do to be successful or not be successful. So, Monaco, pay attention here, right? They have an aging midfield. At least somebody there, Fabinho, Henderson, they have the Brazilian one. They're all good on the ball. But when out off the ball, they cannot do much for you. Fabinho cannot mark a midfield like Arsenal midfield or City midfield. So that was part of their issue. Mane left, it became a big issue because now they don't have their athlete. The only athlete they have is one. Because you remember, everybody can remember how Mane used to terrorize everybody. If you're playing against Liverpool, in Liverpool, you are really terrified because you don't want to see Mane and Salah coming against you. So once they start tinkering with that, easy, that was done. Secondly, they needed to, put some energy and youth in their midfield. But the guys, Elliott and the other guy that they brought in from the academy, they are not really finished product. They will not win you any Champions League games or any of those sort. So some of those things added to their, to the downfall or to the bad season, perhaps, right? They still made it to Europe, unlike Chelsea. But that is, I think, their defense is still solid because they have one of the best center backs ever. Their coaching is still solid. Like, that guy is immovable. Their bench might not be because, like I said, they don't have enough to actually put up a fine starting 11, not to talk of the whole bench aspect of it. So I would just rest my case and let Odunze or Morocco chime in.
Yeah, Odunze, let's go to you. It's been a little bit we heard from you. Looking at Liverpool, what do you think was or were the reasons why we saw a Liverpool in the shape of, say, Bournemouth for most part of the season?
Mbaka made some really strong points about their aging midfield, which I agree with. I think that the team took some things for granted. They kind of relied on Klopp's ability as a manager to motivate his squad and carry his players, and they over-relied on that. There are successful coaches out there but they need the tools. You have to give them the tools. I think that because of the way Klopp plays, not every player can fit into his teams, and they brought in some players that couldn't fit in. One of them being Naby Keita from Guinea, gifted player, technically sound, but wasn't the kind of player that was needed to stand behind a really high pressing forward line and then still defend and plug that gap and be able to carry the ball from defense to attack. They got some really solid buys in the defense, and then got some really solid buys in the attack, but the midfield they left. And their fans kept complaining. A lot of people spoke about it off and on. They decided to continue to rely on Jordan Henderson and Fabinho and Thiago Alcantara. I mean, Thiago, we know what he can do. These guys, yes, can do anything with the ball, but off the ball, that was where the problem lay for Liverpool. The guys there didn't have the energy to keep up the play. That's one of the reasons. Second reason was that I think that Liverpool, because they hadn't gotten used to, it had been a long time for Liverpool. Liverpool last won European trophies or played dominant football that the club introduced. We spoke about this with City, and we were wondering what next. If you're not prepared for success, and you get in and you become successful, you have to have a plan to sustain success. Otherwise, the next way is you go down and you go down hard, right? I don't think they really planned to sustain the success that they experienced. They took some things for granted. They became lax in preparing to be able to sustain that success. Then for me, another thing that really affected them was Sadio Mane. This Sadio Mane of a human being is a very, very important player, and there are certain players that when they are in a team, you've got to realize how important they are, and you got to try your best to keep them happy because they do more work than others. City does a good job of doing this that I'm talking about now. They have a knack for retaining players retaining players that have helped them achieve some things and not just getting rid of them. At the easier wasn't good. I think it caused a problem in the dressing room. And I think it affected them. So these are the three things I think, led to them falling so hard that, it was hard to.
We have come so far in this episode that we're looking at Real Madrid. But before we go, I'll give a few thoughts on Liverpool. For me, I think, agreeing with all you both of you have said about Liverpool, one thing I know or I believe that was also a problem for them was the fact that what City does is they refresh their squad every season. They add 2-3 players. Once there is any inclination that a player is no longer happy in the team and wants to leave, they plan ahead. They replace that player, allow the new player time to settle into the squad, the system, before they let the other one go. So Liverpool didn't do this very well. Liverpool plays a very high energetic style of play that makes players exert a lot of energy. So, and they have the same squad doing this for the past 5 years. So at some point, there's going to be burnout. So I don't think they planned very well with regards to refreshing the squad. And when they tried to do that, like PS Yanogum said, they got players who don't even have the energy to start with. They got players like Alcantara, got this other guy from Juventus, and then Henderson is already getting tired. He has done so much. But there's one player that everybody tends to forget about. Yeah, I understand about Mane, but one player that the Liverpool lost that really, really affected them was Gigi Wijnaldum that went to PSG. That guy was the workaholic in the middle of Liverpool midfield. He was very, very good on the ball. So he helped them off the ball and had the technical ability as well to help them in transition. Once they lost that guy, that whole gap, because Fabinho and Henderson, with all the off the ball what they do, they didn't have the ability to create things or carry the ball. But nothing could carry, he could tackle, and he could also make 1 or 2 passes. So I think Liverpool's problem was, like we have all said, was more of recruitment. And if you remember very well, even before Klopp came, they were having that same problem.
No, but Reggie, Reggie, 1 second. You hinted on something. No, sorry, 1 second. You hinted on something, right? What they can do off the ball and what they can do on the ball was totally different from what we've seen a club team play, right?
Yeah, of course, definitely. So that's what I'm saying. The recruitment was wrong. We didn't show them. And they had that same problem before Klopp came. If you remember, Liverpool used to go for a summer and sign 7 players or 8 players in one transfer window. Then sell another 7. Before those 7 will settle down, they'll buy another 7 and sell another 7. They kept going through this circle until Klopp arrived, bought 1 or 2 players, stabilized the team, and grew them. So now they fail to probably refresh the squad to maintain the energy that they were using in their games. So I think that's basically what time allows us to talk about Liverpool this time. So let's go to Real Madrid. Jachike, we are in your domain right now. The season before, for me, I believe, I know you spoke about mentality earlier on. I believe Real Madrid was a little bit lucky the season before the one that just passed, in the trophies that they won, I would say more of probably wrong decision by the coaches of Chelsea and Manchester City, handed over some crucial wins to Real Madrid, and they didn't learn from that. What do I mean by that? We have a Cruz, you have Modric, you have Benzema. These are very, very important and integral members of the team who are getting tired because of their age. Ancelotti somehow believed that he could rely on these three men for the next season, and we know how it panned out. So what do you think? I think everybody that watches football in Europe knows the problem of Real Madrid at this moment. What do you think Real Madrid need to do? There's strong indication that you have signed, you're going to get Jude Bellingham. What do you think Real Madrid is going to do this summer, or should do this summer, to get them back to, they lost the league even 2 or 3 months before the end of the season to Barcelona, which is, for a Real Madrid fan, a Real Madrid manager, a Real Madrid anybody that has affiliation with Real Madrid, is a no-no to lose the league to Barcelona the way they did. The Champions League, we know what happened. They lost out in semi-finals. So what do Real Madrid need to do to get themselves back to? Do you think Ancelotti still has what it takes to drive the bus?
Oh, yes. Okay. So first off, I would want you to know that I don't think Real Madrid were lucky last season. Real Madrid had a particular pattern they played, right? Or they played their first games away. And when they played the first games away, they just tried to absorb all the pressure. And then when they came back to the Bernabeu, that's when they brought out themselves. So I don't think it was luck. I think they had a clear plan. They had a clear plan, and they had the players to execute what their plan was. But it's not luck. Because this was 3 times in a row. 3 times in a row, they did the same thing. They played the same exact way. 3 times in a row, they played the same exact way. Anyway, but I wasn't expecting the same thing to happen this season, because, like you said, Real Madrid have almost the same problem as Liverpool. The midfield was aging. You can't expect players like Modric at his age to keep up with Bernardo Silva. Against Man City, Bernardo Silva was the catalyst. Bernardo Silva was the person that actually destroyed Madrid. And I always keep saying it. A midfield of Kroos and Modric will always suffer against any midfield that is fast. Any midfield that plays a fast game, Modric and Kroos will suffer against them. Right? So, but if you try to play slow like them, you're going to lose. And that was what happened. So I think at the moment, Madrid have good midfield prospects, like good midfielders. So I feel like we actually need somebody to replace Benzema. The gap Benzema has left in Real Madrid the gulf is so much, because there's a certain way Benzema plays. He doesn't play like the traditional out-and-out striker. But in counter-attacks, he's always there. You look back, you see him in the back helping the midfielders. And then you look up with the transition and you see him right up there.
Okay, let me ask you a question right there. Oh, 1 minute. Now, Real Madrid, we can see they probably have a plan in transition for the midfield. But you are talking about Benzema right there. From the look of things, it doesn't look like they have plan or have any plan for the exit of Benzema. And,
they did not.
And if that's the case, don't you think, are you not worried about that?
Well, I'm not worried about that exactly. I don't think it's time to worry about that yet, because the summer is still long. And you know how Madrid, Madrid go out and get players. So I feel like Madrid were not planning on Benzema leaving. They were not planning on the prospect of Benzema leaving. And so they were hoping Benzema would stay 1 more season, and then they would have a chance to get Mbappe by 2024. But now Benzema just left. So I don't think they should panic buy. I don't think they should panic buy. I think they should look for a striker who fits the pattern Benzema plays. And to be honest, I only see Harry Kane.
Yeah, that's why I asked you the question, because if I'm a Real Madrid fan and listening to you talk now or what we're discussing about, I'm a little bit worried, because it's not every time, no matter how good a player is, it's not every time you bring a player to a new club, maybe in this case, a new league, that they hit it running immediately. There's always going to be time for adaptation. So if that happens, that Real Madrid goes out there to buy, so to say, a high-quality striker, and it is not able to adapt, as the season starts. That, for me, because Real Madrid fans are not going to accept not giving Barcelona or whoever the run for their money next season, going into the season to win the league in Spain. They will not accept it. So I think it's a little bit of stuff to worry right there. Another question is, do you think that Ancelotti, I know right now Madrid fans don't usually have a lot of patience or emotions towards their coaches. It's all about performance. But it looks like there's a romance right there between Real Madrid fans and but do you think he still has the energy and what it takes to keep Real Madrid where they should be going to the next season?
To be honest, I do not think so. To be very honest, I don't think so. I feel Ancelotti is more of a loyalist. Ancelotti likes old players. Even if you look at his squads back in the day, Ancelotti likes old players.
So what's wrong with liking continuity and liking older players on your team? Because that's what brings stability. If you go and try to go all out and buy new players, you're going to end up like Chima's team. He's called Chelsea.
That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, with your old players, you have to find the balance. You have to find the mix. You can't.
Chimani, Valverde, all of them are there.
And he wasn't playing any of them. You see the point? You can't have Toni Kroos and Modric in the same game against a midfield that is fast-paced. It doesn't make any sense.
They've been tried and tested. Say something. They've been tried and tested.
But the PS, a few minutes ago about Liverpool, relying on players who could not do anything off the ball. So how can you now come and turn around and support a team to play players who do not have the energy?
Because they got a bit down by City. That's why. Come on now.
They got a bit down by City. Why did they get a bit down by City? Because City's midfield.
That's why I'm laughing, because of what PS said about Liverpool.
Exactly.
Because City's midfield.
He turns around, he wants Real Madrid to do exactly the opposite.
No, because Man City's midfield was faster and stronger, quicker.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Real Madrid.
Let me help you, because the whole thing, I understand. I understand what your pain, about, Ancelotti. Ancelotti is an Italian coach, right? And Italian coaches, they go with people that can do the job. And the older you get, the better you get for them, because you know how to cover the basic ground. And we know most of the game that Real Madrid won the games that they're not supposed to win. They won it through Modric and Tony, because they are the one that I forgot the game that who were they playing at that Modric was. Everybody was trying to know, is Modric still 30 something or what? I forgot the team they played here in England, right?
That was Chelsea.
Chelsea. And Modric was running the show. Understand? Let me tell you one thing about young and old.
Modric was running the show because he had Valverde in the middle, getting the balls.
Okay, good. So my point is that Ancelotti is the best coach Madrid can use now, because he is the only one that can translate those young to new. I mean, to old. Getting the old ones away quietly and getting the young ones. And Ancelotti is a master manager. In the times of Madrid. If you take it as a coach, you bring there and kata will start, befalling Madrid from every angle. Ancelotti is good. He's a good fit for Real Madrid. That's why they always bring him. Well, if you notice, this is his second stint, and whenever he's coming, he's always coming when there is a lot of disaster going on, and he's gonna come in and stabilize the ship, and everybody's gonna be okay and start playing happy again. So I think Ancelotti, for me, is still in the best position to handle Madrid. My mistake why they lost that in the league and the Champions League was that they didn't get a good replacement for Benzema. Benzema could have not been able to play the whole game. And when you get old, you get old. There's nothing to do about it, no matter how you think. Ibrahimovic, 2 years ago, he said, I'm God. I can play as much as I want. Bam. That's all. He got injured. He never recovered. When you get old, you might think you're okay. Joaquin in Real Madrid said, I watched his interview, say, I still feel like I'm 28. And he didn't play up to 10 games this season. He retired. The point I'm trying to say is that older you get, the better you get, but at the time you got to know how to handle yourself. And that is where Real Madrid made a mistake. They should have gotten a number 9 that will play every game that Benzema is not playing and use Benzema to refresh the game. And Benzema couldn't play the whole game, which you seen for this year. He played half of the game and got injured most often. So you wouldn't expect him to stay because he knows that he's not going to play all the games again. So what's the purpose of still staying? For me, Ancelotti is still the right man for you guys as a Madrid coach. Okay, let me assume now, if Ancelotti is gone, who would you want to replace him?
Okay, so Bros Ken, you got me very, very wrong. You got me incorrectly. I didn't mean I don't want Ancelotti. What I mean is, I feel like Ancelotti needs to be open-minded enough to try to put in these younger fellows into those games. That's what I mean. I don't mean that Ancelotti is a very wonderful coach. And as long as he can, I would love to have him. But I just don't want to see an intense match and you see Toni Kroos and Modric in the same game. That is -2 players without the ball. The second Bernardo Silva's goal against Manchester City, Modric was right there watching. Modric was caught ball watching. And in this season, he has been doing that thing often. He has been doing it often. But that's not his type of game. Modric is a hard worker. But like you said, when you're old, you're old. You can't give more than what you have. And then then he took Camavinga, who had a little bit more energy, and put him in left back. Camavinga is not a left back. City knew this. They exploited it. He
was coming in.
But they had a left back problem. They had a left back problem.
Camavinga kept making rookie mistakes because he's not a left back. I don't blame him. But we had this guy back from injury and playing. We had Ferland Mendy. Mendy was back, and Mendy could have played.
Alaba, he doesn't know if he's match fit.
No, okay. Alaba could have played there. David Alaba could have played there. David Alaba could have played there, and you would have left Rudiger. Rudiger played the first game, and he held Haaland all through the game. You should have left Rudiger with Militao. But because you wanted to keep the old squad, the old guard, you wanted to keep your old guard, you had to bring Camavinga to left back. And Bernardo Silva exploited him because they were always 2 and 3 on him.
I completely
in all honesty, though, I don't think Real Madrid losing to City was a tactical error. It was just an act of God. If you watch that game very well, you will see that, like somebody said, since we've been discussing, it is City's time. That the second match, even when City was winning 1-0, 2-0, it was very, very obvious to everybody that City had the game in their hands. City would not City, please. Real Madrid had the game Real Madrid would have won that game. It was when when Real Madrid started pushing and they threw caution to the winds, that was when they lost that game. I honestly don't feel like, I honestly believe that older coaches are better than younger coaches. And moreover, when you have a coach that is larger than life in a club, it's not always good to throw that coach. Like what happened if Ancelotti leaves Madrid today? What happened to Man U might likely happen to Real Madrid.
I'm not saying Ancelotti should leave Real Madrid. I'm saying Ancelotti should find a way to integrate these younger players into the team.
Balance it.
Yes. I'm saying against City, it was a tactical error.
No, I think that I disagree with you a little bit because I know you watched the first game between Real Madrid and Man City. He played Camavinga on the left side, and he didn't play like an outright left back. That's the way
that's what I was trying to say.
The team was structured. He was the one that was driving the left side of the midfield for the Real Madrid.
Just like what Pep is doing. Most
of the time, Modric was covering that place because they had the energy Militao of Rudiger and Alaba. You are talking about playing Alaba at the left back. There's a reason why he played Alaba in the middle, because he's a left-footed center back and he balanced that area. Like you said earlier on, Modric somehow failed to do what he did in the first game, and Real Madrid suffered for it. The only blame I have for Ancelotti is he could have identified that early enough and tried to adjust it. But again, like I said, we all as fans analyze and talk about these games for 90 minutes. We don't know what goes on in the training ground from Monday to Saturday before these games are played. There's a lot that sometimes as a coach, you can look at a player when you're going to war. You know the players that are mentally ready for that war. Sometimes you as a fan can say, hey, Jubilee is supposed to be playing, why is he not playing? But on Wednesday morning, the coach, they go for match meeting and look at the player you're relying on to go to war with. And he looked at you like he's not even sure if he's going to show up. These things happen. There are sometimes team lineups are changed 10, 15 minutes to a game. Nobody tells you those details. So sometimes, we just analyze and talk based on what we see on the game. But a lot of things happen before these games actually, take place.
And let me add to what you said concerning this particular issue, because Jachike mentioned something concerning Mendy was, ready, recovered, and was ready to play. Why didn't he play? This person was super. Just like Reggie said, it's easy to see from a TV. Now, let me use myself an example. As an example, I had this game with Venezia. I just had my surgery recovered because the fans are so fond of me. And there's a game that we were supposed to play, a Coppa Italia, and I was supposed to play the game because I'm recovering from injury. But me and myself and the coach and every of my physical trainers know that I can't even give more than 15 minutes or 20. But the fans don't know that. They want me to play. Remind you that we play 2-a-side on Thursday. So 2-a-side, you let them watch the game to see how the players are feeling. So they come in, they watch me play the last 15 minutes, score 2 goals. They were excited and stuff. In that Coppa Italia, the coach know that I don't have more than 15 minutes. I know that I don't have more than 15 minutes. I've been out for 6 months, recovering now. So for the fans, they're able to play. And that game we lost. I came in 15 minutes to end anyway. There's nothing I can do because we were losing 3-0 already. After that match, disaster, riots everywhere. They broke all the players' cars and craziness. But why am I bringing it up? And the next day, the coach told me, had a discussion with me, said the thing about these fans that they don't even know what goes on behind the closed door. Can you play the game? I said, no. He said, but they want to kill me because you didn't play. So my point is that we see what we see. Believe me, There's never a coach that will leave somebody that will give him 120% on the bench to play somebody that's going to give him 60%. If you see 11 on the field, know that that 11 is what the coach has seen through the week. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and the game is Saturday. He's ready for this 11 because they have given him everything. You understand? So don't.
Would you agree with me that the dynamics for that game changed when Camavinga moved to the midfield and Alaba moved to the left back and Rudiger came into the game?
That is what you're gonna think that what made the dynamic change, because you probably.
I want to understand. Do you agree with me that the dynamics changed?
No, I wouldn't. You know why I wouldn't? Because if the whole game, if he started that game in the same position and everybody's 100% fit at the beginning of the game, he wouldn't have made any impact. Maybe he came in there and everybody was tired. Can you really agree that can happen too? So
yes,
that's the point. Yeah. That's the point I'm telling you. So we cannot say dynamic change because of this. Just like what Guardiola said. Guardiola said, if I had lost this game, now they would start telling me what I could have done better. He said, if I lost the final yesterday, they would have said what you could have done better, this and that. Now I won. Everyone say, oh, Guardiola, superstar, you are wonderful, you are great. You know, this is what fans are going to talk anyways. You know, being a coach is not easy. No matter what you do, if you're winning, everybody's good. But the moment you lose, they're going to pick even what doesn't make sense makes sense. You know, what doesn't make sense, it makes sense.
I think we'll start on this one. Thank you guys for coming. P.S. we are here late. We started with your team, City. Let's end this episode with you.
Congratulations. Congratulations, all the same.
Congrats, man. Kudos to City.
I cannot congratulate City.
So let me ask you one question. I asked
hold on, Reggie, hold on. You know I'm a United fan, right? And the thing about City is that I've always said this. You know, I always believe in a fair football. Whether City won the Champions League or not, Pep is still the best coach ever. I don't care what people are trying to say. I don't care how they want to say it. I don't care how they hate him. But I'm telling you, that guy is a genius. He's a massive. You know, so respect to him. Champions League is a completion of what he's brought to football. We should be happy to be part of this generation to enjoy his work. Believe me, I wasn't able to watch Johan Cruyff do his magic because they say he was similar to Pep. But I'm watching Pep, man. I'm enjoying every day of my life. So I don't care if I'm United fan. He is a legend and he's going to remain a legend.
We cannot congratulate Pierce.
Yeah, so Pierce, let me ask you one question. I'm going to close with this because we have spent some time on this one. If you were to wake up tomorrow morning and the news breaks that Guardiola is going to leave Manchester City as the manager, do you think that City will remain at this high level of performance over the years?
Yes and no. Because one thing is first, change is constant, right? So we as fans, we are not expecting him to stay because you know damn well that at least in the next 2 or 3 years, this guy is going to come up and say he's taking a sabbatical. He wants to take a time off and concentrate on family or business. It will happen, right? And City will either go back into a slump or they can do what they normally do best, throw money at the solution. Now, City fans, we understand financially, the team invested very much in the best way possible. And that includes bringing the coaches. Now, look at the litany of coaches they had since they had the transition, right? They went from Mancity, they went to Pellegrini, now they came to Pep. Those are coaches that were tactically decent enough to win Premier Leagues. Now, they capped it off by bringing guys that ran Barcelona. They have to start from the top. So now, if Pep leaves, that's fine. But if it's running close to there, they will, believe me, they are savvy enough to understand who should come in his place and take over forward.
Okay, fair enough.
from the structure up there. No, go ahead.
Yeah, guys. So I think we've come to the end of this one. I really enjoyed your contribution to this episode. We're going to do this a little bit more when the transfer window opens and we are deep into it. We're going to come back again to discuss players that our various clubs are linked to. We may probably signings would have made by then. We'll analyze those signings. So we'll be looking at before the beginning of next season. We'll try to have this again to discuss various clubs' readiness to go into the new season and our expectations for our various clubs of allegiance going into next season. One more time, we congratulate PS and Manchester City. They are treble winning side this season. The only team that has done that in England was the Alex Ferguson team of 98, 99, if I'm wrong.
United. So he scored.
No, but I have one last thing.
You say he scored City United, so it can only happen in Manchester. City United.
Viewers, don't forget to subscribe to our channel if you like what we are doing here. If you have not done so yet, like and share this video. We promise on Transit TV and this Regis Football Show to bring you content that are very insightful, informative, and entertaining. And I'll give our contributors in this episode the last minutes to say a few words for the closing. Yes, let's go.
Okay. So just in case, I'm saying this for all the City fans around the globe. If City comes after your player, they're gonna get them. So hold on to Saka real well, because if Guardiola likes him, he's gonna go. That's just what I want to tell you as an Arsenal fan. Now for Chimo, for Chelsea fans, please, if you're selling good players for cheap, Kovacic and Co, we're buying. We have the money. It doesn't matter. You can call us whatever you want to call us. Okay. Now, for Real Madrid fans, thank you for doing us a favor. Please keep putting up old people on your team. We will put some $100 million players against them. Now, for my Man United coach, hey, Zebo, I appreciate you. You always tell me, listen, Pierce, I don't play you for what you can do on the ball. I played you for what you can do off the ball. Hey, y'all keep going down the ladder, right? Just keep going down. Next week, next month, next year, you will be outside the top 4. Peace out.
We'll get it.
You have any word for our viewers before we go?
Not really. I just have something to tell Pierce. Pierce, so the only thing I have to say to you is like, man, I'd rather take 14 million than 1 million. So you still have a long way. You still have a long way. You guys still have a long way. So just know that. And just remember that Real Madrid dunked on y'all last season.
Now, Chima, for the closing, you have any words for our viewers? We're coming to the end.
Yes, I want to thank the viewers for this time. We had a very, very nice discussion. It was like an overview of what happened throughout the season and what various teams in Europe, the way they performed. We want people to always join this channel. Is an educative and informative channel where soccer and everything about soccer is discussed. I want viewers to also understand that for myself, I will always lean towards Chelsea. I will always be biased in discussing Chelsea because there is this affinity I have about Chelsea that makes me, look at them in a positive light. So I thank you guys for being with us, and I hope you guys will join us some other time that we're going to have this. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, Ken Zaibo, we'll have you close it for us.
Thank you, guys, and it's been a wonderful section, and I did enjoy myself. It's fun, and I hope we do this more often and getting to promote this Transit TV as much as we can. Guys, subscribe as much as you can, like and share the video. Believe me, it's gonna be hot next season. I'm coming in, and audience is coming in, and we're all gonna come in. We're gonna support our own. This is our own, so we gotta support it and make it great. I'm into making it globally, known, and I hope everybody be part of it, and hopefully we can extend this, all the way to discussion about the league in Nigeria as well, because we need to also market our own.
Yeah,
so
we're working on that.
I'm so happy for Reggie for inviting me into this, and I promise to be available anytime you need me. So good job, big up to you.
Yeah, thank you, our fans, and we apologize for some of the contributors had to leave. The conversation got so interesting that we way overshot our schedule. And we hope that you guys enjoyed it. And we thank you for joining us this time, and we will be back very, very soon. Thank you, and bye for now. Cheers, guys.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Bye-bye.